Good evening, campers, dreamers, and babysitters, and welcome to our review of Christmas, Bloody Christmas.
Have you heard from the boys down at the scene yet?
They're still down there counting bodies.
Okay, so this is another fun one for the weekend here. We just got off of seeing The Mean One yesterday, weren't entirely thrilled with that one, so I was kind of really leaning on this one now, almost I would say to an unfair amount, because I needed a little bit of something fun, a little bit of a palate cleanser, just kind of to scratch that evil Christmas murdering itch that The Mean One really didn't satisfy. But I'm going to throw this over to you, Luke. How did you feel about Christmas, Bloody Christmas?
I think I was on the other end of that spectrum where you said you put a lot on this film. I really didn't have too much going into this because it was like, Violent Night for me was pretty much fun. The Mean One did not hit, and this one was a toss-up for me because, I have a weird relationship with VFW as well as Bliss. So I didn't really know what to expect going into here. I was hoping for the best, but you just never really know. I will say I was pleasantly surprised on this one.
Yeah, I would agree on that. I'm with you there. Joe Bagos movies, we've talked about it in the past when we talked about the trailer. It's kind of hit or miss and mostly misses on my end with him. I have yet to see Bliss, but I know you say that it's okay. And I haven't seen his, is it his first film, Enemy Mind or whatever? It's like
I haven't seen
something,
that one either.
Mind's Eye or something. I heard that's
Yeah, I
pretty
think
good
so.
too. But yeah, no, I enjoyed this. I think there's still obviously some Joe Bagos stuff in there. We'll get into that in a minute here, but no, I think overall I could see myself going back and revisiting this one.
I think there were a lot of great themes in here, and oddly enough, everything that I criticized the Mean One on not having, I feel like Christmas, Bloody Christmas really did check those boxes. Because even just we won't talk spoilers here, but even opening up here where we get the Christmas lights and we get the snow as our main character is walking into the record shop, it really set the tone for what I had wanted out of this film. It really did feel like Christmas. And, again, I'm going to keep comparing this to The Mean One because we had just seen that one and had some expectations there where they took the element of Christmas out of a holiday horror film where, Christmas, Bloody Christmas leaned into it like they should. They should own it. And they really did. And then you get the Killer Santa stuff, and I think that works as well. They even put an idea behind it as to why this is all going. So I think they really nailed this one, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, to me, there are a couple of things that I'll throw some brief criticisms at. Just because, again, this really falls into taste, I feel like, though, too, and to kind of what you're expecting there. But, we haven't necessarily been quoted, but I think that if you go back to a couple of our looser gooser kind of Sunday Scaries episodes where we've discussed this, we have compared Joe Bagos to a Rob Zombie light in a sense.
Yeah.
And again, it's just the same shit. All the characters are, male characters, I should say, are all bearded. Everybody's cursing like a fucking sailor around every corner. To the point where it does get to you where you're just kind of at least for me, I'm just like, Jesus Christ, I get it. I curse like a fucking sailor all the time, but good Lord, man, it's just so noticeable, and that it does detract from it. But I will say, I did enjoy the characters, I think, a little bit more in this than I have into some of his previous works.
And see, and that's where I'm with you. That's my biggest criticism here. The characters for me, the writing in that particular sense of where we get the character development. For me, we always really do get the same thing. I think in the Joe Bagos' films here, where again they're cursing, it does take me out of it. But once he hits the point of that trigger and we get going and we have to take that person out and we're just dealing with, the scenario at hand, I'm able to forget that because we're not getting into those relationships or anything. We're just really dealing with, a haywire killer Santa. So at that point, it starts working for me. But up until that point, for me, I'm like, I was expecting like, okay, here we're in for another one, So I'm intrigued here because as I was watching this, I kind of started throwing around in my head where it's like looking at VFW, looking at Bliss. Bliss, I like a little bit more than VFW, where we get these, the characters I don't really resonate with. A lot of cursing, all this stuff, and it's personal taste. Some people love it. For me, I don't really necessarily resonate with it, but I'm always curious here because I think Joe Bagos, he really nails a lot of the ideas. Like if you give
Mhm.
this guy a treatment, bullet points of say give me line me do a lineup of how this is going to work, A, B, C, D, and then you would have someone else come in and create the characters, kind of write that stuff. I'm intrigued to see how that would go because visually he has a very perfect style. He has a lot of unique intentional ideas. It's just I think he struggles a little bit with the writing,
Yeah.
and that's just my personal taste. Where it's like I've been there before where I have had characters specifically talking about things that are personal to me, where we're kind of getting into Pet Cemetery 2, and we're debating on all these different films and what's better, and Blair Witch, Book of Shadows or whatever it's called, and we're kind of really getting into all this other stuff, and it's like it's cheeky, it's fun when you're writing it, but for me, when I see it, I'm like, maybe we need something a little more advanced there. I mean, as a filmmaker, the guy's great. I think as a writer, he may struggle a little bit.
Yeah, as someone who spent many years working in a record store specifically, I can say that there were a lot of roll my eyes moments with some of these conversations. But I still think that like there was a charming nature and aspect to both Tori and Robbie. I really liked them interacting together. They were kind of very playful,
Yeah,
very very like I could see them being in a nice relationship, and I think that's what sold it to me. I mean, they're both again just because of how it's written, they're both very foul in the way that they talk and stuff. But it's like you can tell there was chemistry there. There was a camaraderie,
I bought the
and
friendship.
I did too. And the friendship that blossoms a little bit into something else too. I bought all of that. I was very sold. So there's when things start to transpire, we go down the way here, as it's titled Christmas Bloody Christmas. There were a lot of moments of tension there because I didn't want to see characters in danger. And there's a good bit of cannon fodder. I mean, I'm gonna sit there and just say this because of the mean one that we saw yesterday. Great use of practical effects blood here.
Yes.
I think I don't know if there was really any CGI blood. I think maybe there's one kill where I think it's CGI involving a police officer, but I think he kind of had to, disposing of how they did it. But it was hardly noticeable. If I had to, give it even more of kind of praise, I'd say I love the Terminator aspect to the machine or the
I
killer
think those
Santa.
effects toward the end of everything were spot
Were
on.
top
I
notch. Yeah,
I
very
loved it,
much that classic 1980s Terminator 1 feeling. And I thought that was great. I
and they didn't
really
shy away
enjoyed
from
it.
it. And I don't know what
Yeah.
the budget here was, but they really made use of it.
And it was really cool. The third, like I guess not really into the third act, but the final set piece, I'll just say it involves the record store. Really was some great stuff. Like there's a
Yes.
lot of fun stuff there. We talk about his visual style. He likes a lot of neon. It's not just in this film, but a lot of his films he uses a
Mhm.
lot of that neon lighting. In this one, it's a little easier, I guess, for me to forgive in some ways because of the time of year it is and how everybody's got Christmas lights up and everything. It did kind of strain on me a little bit as we went along, where it is just kind of like it's so saturated. If he could have pulled back a little more, I think really where it got to me was there's a couple shots inside a house where there was still so much neon, but it was just like I didn't really know where it was coming. It just kind of felt like it was the visual style that was just
Yeah.
there. Um, Again, that's more personal preference stuff. So it's like if you love it, you're gonna love it. Like you're gonna enjoy it. I mean, I still think it's a great flick, and I had a lot of fun with it. And then if I had one more criticism I could throw at it, I wish that we got a little more into the backstory of the actual animatronic itself. I thought that we'd have a little bit more time for build up. I was surprised when I flipped this on and saw that it was like, what is this, like a hour 20, an hour 25, I think it
Yeah, something
is.
like that. Maybe,
Yeah,
yeah, somewhere
it's
around there.
under an hour and a half. So
Yeah,
that did give me a little bit of a red flag of like, okay, we might not be getting exactly what I was looking for that, which we didn't, but it's still, it all worked.
yeah,
But again, I would have liked to have seen, and I think maybe this goes into that child's play too kind of stuff where I want to see him being assembled. I want to see a little bit more of like maybe the application it was used before because they talk about it. They use news segments to discuss it. I just wish there was a little bit more of that. It kind of felt like things just started with the animatronic and we just kind of went through, which isn't bad. I mean, like, again, I'm not sitting here saying that ruins the movie in any way for me, but it's just kind of like I would have liked a few minutes with that.
yeah. I think it would have been interesting. And again, we're just going off the cuff here and talking creative for a moment here. I think it would have been interesting. I do like the way this opens up with the little almost public access commercials. I think that's a lot of fun.
Hmm.
But like I would have loved to see this randomly open up of us not knowing what to expect, and it is these actual robots being used in some sort of mission, killing people, and then that would be the cold open, and then we would cut to, now they're being, now they're already as like Santa Clauses, and that's how they've kind of pivoted to it. I would have also have really enjoyed almost like a Children of the Corn aspect, where the kids are all turning on the adults and killing them, where it would have been like all these things, all these different Santas malfunctioning in different malls at the time, and then
Hmm.
we finally show our last one. This is going to be the one that we're following, waiting for him to malfunction. I think that would have been a lot of fun just for a little bit of a backstory. One of the things that I was slightly disappointed, and I mean, it's a minute thing, but when they're showing those commercials at the very beginning and they show the is he Robo Santa, I think is what they call it.
Hmm.
And they say he has over 90,000 words, and I
He didn't
really
talk at all,
yeah, I
hardly.
would have loved to have him just randomly saying things as he's like walking and killing people, just like Merry Christmas, whatever you want to put. I would have loved to have seen a little more verbal, some verbiage, I guess, from him, because it's like when you kind of set that he's got 90,000 words in his vocabulary. I would have loved to have seen some randomly haunting stuff of, we just got off Silent Night, we're gonna Silent Night, Deadly Night, where it's like, naughty and all this stuff. You don't have to go that route, but it's like something continuously saying something. I think would have been a lot of fun. But overall, I thought this was a lot of good stuff. You can see him really opening up where VFW, yes, this was a siege film. They didn't really, there were a lot of great ideas that weren't really flushed out. Whereas this one, there's a particular scene with an ambulance and they're driving, through the town, and the visuals there are great. It's really opening up everything. It's building that tension there. And the kind of way that scene ends, I think, is like, oh wow, we really get a big visual set piece here where we haven't really gotten any of that stuff. So I'm really becoming excited to see what he's going to do in the future. As I'm assuming this is a bigger budget than something like VFW or Bliss, as it's just getting bigger and bigger. I'm really excited to see what they're going to do with it, what Joe Bagels will do with a even bigger budget, because I think he's got a very intriguing visual style.
Hmm.
Again, very intriguing ideas. I think maybe he needs a writer by his side. But this one, for me, I am 100% in on this one. This is another one I can see revisiting
Hmm.
quite a few times. I probably will watch it one more time at least before Christmas, just because I did enjoy this one.
Yeah, it's a good bit of fun, man, and I like it a lot. It's available on Shutter, so you don't have to rush out of the theater to see it. I did see when we were booting this up though, it actually is playing near us at a couple of theaters.
Oh
So
wow.
yeah, I think it's got a pretty wide release, I would say. So depending on if you want to see it in theaters or not, I think this would be a fine one to go check out and spend your money on because it's like, again, visually it looks nice. I would almost like to see this on a big screen
Yeah.
just to see how it pans out. But you're right, this feels more professional, more produced than VFW even did, and VFW had some big name actors in it as
Yeah.
opposed to this one where it's like, I think the biggest actor that we had, I don't recall the main two, is probably Jeff Daniel Phillips.
Yeah, I think so.
who again is a Rob Zombie regular. So
Yeah.
it's one of those things where it's like, very interesting to see that. Yeah, I am with you here, man. I thought this was really solid. I enjoyed it a lot. I definitely think I'll check it out. If not before Christmas this year, I'll definitely be popping it on again next year. And I'd be really happy to see a Blu-ray drop for this because I would like to own this. This would be a fun one to throw on the shelf. And yeah, I mean, as far as I've seen from Joe Bagos, probably my favorite of his work right now. Like I said, I have some complaints, just some minor criticisms, but really I can't sit here and, throw an axe at it or anything like that. I had fun. I enjoyed it. It really satisfied that itch for me. And I think I'm excited to see what he does next, just like you, man.
Yeah. They really leaned into the horror, really set that tone there. So that really, it gave me that fulfillment that I had been wanting out of a lot of these holiday horrors. So I thought that was great. Good tension here. A nice gore fest as well. In some instances, some of the kills were really great here. We did kind of get that what I wanted, slashing at night, through the nighttime. That's where I think the neon did work for me because at least he gave us a reason for it.
Mhm.
So visually, I think it was great. The set pieces were wonderful. I think he had a great handle on just the idea in general. This one, yes. If you don't have a subscription to Shudder, I highly recommend getting one. This film alone will be worth the price. If you want to go out to the theater, I think it's going to look great. It doesn't have a low budgety feel at all. He really knows his way behind a camera, so no worries there. I mean, he makes the most of every scene. Again, the kills are great. This Robo Santa is something that's gonna live on for at least a few more years in my head. So
Mm.
I think this is a great one. He knocked this one out of the park.
I agree. I'd actually love to see a follow up to this too. And I actually thought of it as I was going along. If you want to make this a trilogy, you call it Christmas, Bloodier Christmas, and then Christmas, Bloodiest Christmas.
There we go. And one of them has to just be like where we get several Robo Santas.
Exactly. And it all takes place in a mall.
There
So
we
there
go.
you go.
Wonderful. Let's do it.
Alrighty, but that's going to wrap us up here for our review of Christmas Bloody Christmas. Definitely check us out on our Instagram, our Twitter, and our TikTok at Splattercast Pod to keep up with all the latest and greatest. As well, if you're just stumbling across the channel or you just recently found us, feel free to hit that subscribe button. We are on our way to 1,000 subscribers. We are doing really well. We just crossed 500, about a week ago or so, doing
Yep.
pretty good. So we're still growing, and we got a lot of great content coming to you guys here shortly. Just within the coming week, we are launching December to Dismember, where we'll be going through the entire Silent Night, Deadly Night, catalog, as well as a couple of other fun videos.
What a fun ride
dropping for you guys. So yeah, we've already got a couple in the bag. We got a few more to shoot. Real interesting series so far. So alrighty, guys. Well, other than that, I am Dylan Newell.
And I'm Luke Janesco.
And remember, stay scared.
It's him. Oh, Santa Claus?
Yeah, it's fucking Santa
Santa
Claus.
Claus.